So this is going to be the first in a series on productivity. Some people have requested that I make some videos about this. How do I exactly structure my day? What do I do to get the most out of my day? How to complete as many tasks as possible, but also staying aligned with the greater vision, which is very, very important. So I have a few things I wanted to share in this. This particular episode, if you will, or video is going to be around discipline. So discipline is an extremely, extremely important part of productivity, and you need to be able to force yourself to do things that you don't want to do in order to achieve the goals that you wish, because those goals and those dreams that you have, they require a series of tiny, tiny steps, day-to-day decisions and day-to-day choices about how you use your time and your resources. And so if you make all of the right steps towards a goal, in no time you will have completed it and you will be living that lifestyle and having that experience that you're looking for. But to do that, you need to teach your brain to do that. There's actually a part of the brain responsible for this action of doing hard things. It is called the anterior mid singular cortex. Fuck my life. It's essentially a part of the brain that is responsible for your willpower. Andrew Huberman, a very famous scientist, actually measures this, and he's the one who has been coined with its discovery. And he said the part of this of David Goggins, the ultra marathon runner, Navy SEAL, he had one of the biggest ones he'd ever seen. So I want to start by talking about the process of making your bed. Every single day when I wake up, first thing I do is I make the bed. It seems like a trivial thing. I remember I was a child and I didn't understand why I had to do this, because I was just going to get back into it afterwards, right? And so now, having adopted that habit because of Jordan Peterson, who said you absolutely have to, has revolutionized my morning routine. Because if you start and you're sluggish and all you want to do is go and eat some food and just relax, and that's how your day is going to be, because you haven't built up any momentum in terms of tasks and doing things. Doing momentum is very, very important. And so you want to start your day on wins. This is why people who wake up very early and do some work for themselves, like going to the gym or journaling, but especially doing your bed straight away in the morning, not only does it make your room look clean, it becomes who you are. You do one thing, how you do everything. And so one thing is an expression of your being, of all other things. So think about it. If you're sloppy in one aspect of your life, you're likely to be sloppy in the other. So if you become conscientious and you train yourself in that area of your life, you will inadvertently become conscientious in other areas of your life. So do your bed, guys. Very, very important. There was a book called The Perfect Day Formula that I read way back when. And in this book, the guy outlines the way to structure a day. It's called The Perfect Day Formula because he has 3 steps. So he says, in the morning, you win your mornings, right? You control your mornings. You start your mornings with a routine. You follow that routine. You stick to it. You gain a couple of wins. You gain some momentum, right? And then you handle the chaos of the afternoon. Afternoon is chaotic. Things are coming in that you did not plan for. And so brand new things are happening that you're having to adapt to. So it is extremely important that you control the chaos in the afternoon, and then you kind of debrief your evenings, where you take a moment to either journal or you take a moment to look at your to-do lists or your time blocks, and you say, how well did I do? What tasks can I leave for tomorrow? What tasks didn't I do? What tasks do I prioritize? What notes do I have to write up for the day? And it's in that time period that you're condensing rough data and rough information and statistics, and you're condensing it and you're seeing, how can I improve the next day? How can I get better? What did I miss? What do I need to think about tomorrow? And so all of this is really, really important, because in a human lifetime, we don't have a lot of time. We have hardly any time. And some of you who may have seen my post before, you'll see this. So many of you are wondering, what is this? It is your life, a human life, in weeks. How many weeks do all of us have? Take a second to look at that. Take a second to appreciate just how little time we all have. It's absolutely crazy. And it's nothing. People think we have all of this time and they're wasting time scrolling on their phones. They're wasting time avoiding the tasks that they should be doing. They're wasting their life away. And so you really need to be aware that our time here is finite and you will die. And that first and last part of life doesn't even count until you become conscious as an adult and when you're old and unconscious as a very old person. And so prioritize your time, prioritize your days. How you spend your days and how you spend your hours and your minutes and your weeks, that will determine the kinds of things that you do in this lifetime before you die, and you will inevitably die. This is a great exercise. It's used by the Stoics. Marcus Aurelius talked about it, meditating about your death, because it's coming. It's coming for all of us, and avoiding it and repressing it doesn't do you any good. Thinking about it and heading it head first, I see that and I think, let's go. I got time. Let's do this. It's not a lot, but I'm ready. The time to act is now. That will give you urgency. And if you think about it, we all have 24 hours in a day. It all depends on how you use it. The rich people, the successful people, the poor people, the unsuccessful people, everybody has the same 24-hour period, but it's all about how are you using that time? Is it effective? So there's a concept in the side hustle world known as your 9 to 5 and your 5 to 9. So your 9 to 5 is what you work, it's what pays your bills, it's what puts money on the table essentially. Whereas your 5 to 9 is when you finish work. What are you doing with your 5 to 9? Are you mindlessly scrolling away? Are you smoking weed? Are you watching porn and just jacking off? Are you alone? Are you just spending it with some shithead friends? What are you doing with that time? Are you doing anything productive? Are you growing as a person? We live in this slave world right now where you have to work just to survive, just to drink water and have a shower and eat food and be able to drive a car. We live in this slave world where we work crazy hours and you come home, all of your energy has been given to another company, another owner, and you yourself, what are you doing with your time? You're becoming more of a slave. You're getting more and more programmed watching this shit. So really, you need to start thinking about, how do I structure my days? What do I do with that extra bit of time? Because that's where the gold is. That's where the growth is. That's where that side business is, that side hustle. That's where that better body is. That's where that six pack. That's where that better diet is. That's where more money is. That's where more connection with your relationship, with your family, with your friends that actually matter, the ones that matter. That's where the reprogramming of your brain happens. And so you really need to think about that. So I am in the habit of actually planning my entire day. And so right here is how I plan my day. So this is right there. I have a little thing I buy off Amazon, super cheap. Here I put out the categories, and because I work a sales job at the moment, I'm selling travel and tourism products. And so I have sales, I have operations, and then I have leadership, right? Leadership, because I'm in a leadership position there. I'm a sales lead. I do sales coaching and whatnot. And so these are for my job. As you can see, they fill out the first little bit there. Then I have social, I have self-development, and I have business. I don't plan anything in my day that doesn't fit into those categories, right? So that's all my day is. Do you see, going drinking with your friends on there? No. Do you see, wasting time watching Netflix? Do you see any of that bullshit there? No, you don't, because that doesn't have time in my life. So the social aspect, I usually use meeting good friends or making stronger connections with my family, my partner's family. So it's very, very important. And this way you can plan it in 30-minute chunks. And then the trick is you want to be very, very easy on yourself. You don't want to make yourself feel bad about this. This is meant to be a happy thing. The more habits you can create as happy things in your mind and somehow tie them up to your dopamine system, your motivation, your reward network, right? Imagine if you looked at that and you did that and it made you feel good. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to program your brain for liking it. So to do that, you need to focus on what is it that you like about that. And I love the colors. I love the fact that I do this, and then at the end of the day, I do a debriefing and I see how many did I get. what percentage did I get of what's on there? And literally, like, it's usually 70%, pretty steady. Sometimes it goes up to 90, sometimes it dips to 50, but it's like I'm not gonna get the full 100%. I'm not gonna beat myself up. If I get 30%, I'm gonna chill out and I'm gonna say, hey, I'm gonna try again tomorrow. And that's the best thing you can do, that incremental growth of getting better and getting more comfortable with it. If that isn't colorized, I just don't see it. My little ADHD brain doesn't see it without the color coordination. It really helps, and it makes me look at it more throughout the day. So I write tasks on one of the ends. That's what you should be doing. And a very important part of this is the to-do list right here. So many times we have an idea to do something, and then we forget it and we never think about it again, but we knew that's something we should have done. So every time I have one of those thoughts, I write it down. I write it on any piece of paper I have access to at that time. I write it in my phone if I need to, because those are golden thoughts. And if I don't remember that, it's gone forever. And so that to-do list is made up of these little thoughts that I've had over the last few weeks. And so, yeah, I highly recommend everybody plan their days like that. There is more that's going to come into the productivity aspect. There's also weekly planners, there's monthly planners, annual planners, kind of breaking down your bigger goals, your annual goals into more manageable daily goals. That's a process of stacking it down that we are going to cover in later episodes. But a big part of discipline is simply doing hard things. The hardest thing that has ever happened to you is the hardest thing that has ever happened to you. Take a moment to take that in. What does that mean? That means that your standard of strength and hardness and what is painful for you, what causes suffering, is determined by how much you have suffered in the past. To give you an example, I used to be afraid of working 60-hour work weeks until I lived in France, in Nice, and I worked 60-hour work weeks. I used to finish a 9 to 5 long time ago, and if I had to work on anything for an extra hour, I would feel so much pain and suffering, because I'm like, no, I should be relaxing. This is entertainment time. I've worked such a hard day. Poor me. And then I went to Nice, and while living there, I was working a few different jobs. I was working 60-hour work weeks, 7 days a week, over the course of like 3 or 4 months, just straight. That taught me so much. And now my free time isn't time that I use for fucking about. It's time that I use productively, because I learned to work in those hours. And so, yeah, that was difficult. Now if I have to work like a 16-hour shift, easy peasy, no problem whatsoever. And so that's how you train yourself. Like, for example, I used to be afraid of fasting. Then I did like a 48-hour fast in Sicily, in Italy, just hiking up a mountain. I just did this 2-day hike all the way up a mountain, total darkness, no one around, no water, no food. Came back down the mountain and I was alive. I was totally fine. I felt great. And so it's like, now I look back at it, and if I miss a meal at some point because I'm doing stuff, I don't care. I don't care about missing meals, because it doesn't bother me, because I know that that hunger, that pain isn't actually that painful, because I felt pain much stronger. So you should really teach yourself to do hard things. And the way that you do that is, as soon as you wake up in the morning, start doing tasks that are wins. You know, wash your dishes if you gotta, pack your lunch if you gotta, make your bed, fold your clothes, clean your apartment up a little bit. Do all of those things and they'll be wins, and you're retraining your brain to do hard things. So it's very, very important. Going to the gym is probably the number one best way you can teach yourself to do this. When you go to the gym, it's difficult sometimes. Sometimes you don't want to go. But if you go consistently, you are putting yourself through pain, you're putting yourself through suffering, and with that you are building your resilience, building your discipline. And so highly recommend everybody have a gym schedule. There is going to be a ton of videos about this subject, so that's going to come soon. Remember, pain equals growth. You cannot grow if you do not suffer. Suffering is the key to this lifetime. If you want to do anything with your life, just put yourself through pain. Suffer. If you can suffer with other people, those are going to be your best friends for life. But suffer. Constantly seek discomfort. And there's going to be a further episode about this, about a great book by Steven Pressfield called The War of Art, and how art and creativity and doing the work, the great alchemical work, it is hard, and you have to push through resistance. And that is the war in and of itself. So I'm gonna wrap this one up. Thank you so much for listening, guys. I really appreciate you being part of the community. Like on my stuff if you like this video. If you have any questions, feel free to comment. I would love for you guys to participate in the poll of more content that you would like to see, and I'm gonna try and put these out more regularly. So thanks so much, guys, and take care.